sharing your lunch with me, and I know it's a beautiful day outside, so I'll try and be really brief, and you can step outside quickly. One of the things that, I've been in digital for a long time, and we tend to talk about these very sophisticated things we can do, whether it's tying advertising to sales or understanding brand health, or how do I get unduplicated reach against a hyper-connected audience across devices. And that's fantastic stuff, and it's great. But I feel like in digital, we forget sometimes about the fundamentals. We always sort of jump to the sizzle, and we maybe forget about the steak. So I'm going to talk to you about some simple things today about being successful in video, and I'm going to try and pay attention to the left side of the room because they got the short end of the stick on the last one. What things that we believe are fundamental to video success, some things we're doing in the marketplace, and a quick example of how a client or two is using the VideoHub platform to enable their success. And we take our role as a platform very seriously. I'm not here to tell you what's successful for your clients. I'm here to enable you to be successful for your clients. So we do sort of take that Switzerland approach very seriously. So I'm going to start with a beautiful and simple
a secret
pre-roll.
crush turned out to be a mutual attraction.
80+%, almost 90% of every video ad you're going to see. On television,
book club
on
raved about the
desktop,
in the new
on
crime
mobile,
novel.
on laptop.
And some BFFs from college
I'm sure the creative
joked
folks are
about
upset that I'm
old
talking
flames
over
on
their
Facebook.
narration,
All over
but you get
delicious
the general
entrees,
idea.
like our
This
new
is a
Parmesan
very
crusted
clean
steak from our
call to
$20
action.
dinner for two.
We've got a little bit of a funny
More life
gathering of people
happens
talking
here.
about old boyfriends and Facebook and all of that. But all they're trying to do is to get you to feel a certain way about their brand, about their video, and maybe go to Chili's and buy lunch or dinner, which I highly recommend. But the question I have is, what are the fundamental things that drive the potential success for that particular ad? What are, we call them table stakes. And it's a lunchtime presentation, so I like to work a little food into it. And so what are table stakes? The minimum required capabilities for you to be successful. The things you need to do, or have, or know about, or measure, or discover that enable you to drive brand health, to measure ROI, to see how many bottles of shampoo, or how many steaks, or how many butts in seats, or how many cars are moving out of your warehouse or into your cash registers as a brand and as an agency, whether you are meeting the goals that you set out for your brand when you said, hey, I'm going to take your business to the next level. So we're going to talk about table stakes in video. And so what are they? We believe that the primary table stake in video is viewability. And this seems like, I was talking to someone yesterday when we announced this news, it seems like kind of a duh moment, like, oh yeah, if you don't see it, well, how can it possibly drive a sale? How could it possibly affect brand health? But the fact of the matter is, you can't measure this today, which is kind of bizarre in digital. You can measure it on TV. Well, you actually don't need to measure it so much on TV because it's a monolithic delivery. But in video specifically, being able to measure viewability, everything else goes out the window if you don't know whether someone saw 100%, 75%, 50%. Guess what? People go to websites, they read content, they look at other stuff. They're not just captured by your ad. And that's okay. But if you know whether a person is viewing your ad or had the possibility to see it, that your message was actually in front of them, now you can actually take action. You can see whether buying premium placement where it's 100% in view versus 75% in view that might be more cost effective for you makes sense. Now, I can probably guess, I try not to preach too much about what's right or wrong, but I probably guess 0 is not going to drive the needle for any meaningful marketing metric I can think of. So if you're not in view, it's kind of a waste of time, but you should know that. If it can't be seen, it can't be effective. So one of the, this is the pound our chest moment of the presentation. We just announced our MRC accreditation, very first platform to have viewability as an average viewability as a MRC accredited measurement. We pursued this because we believe it's table stakes. We believe that everything we want to build in video, as it is growing at an incredible rate over the next few years, is going to be based upon whether it's viewable or not. And we're all aware of the IAB's initiative around viewable impressions. We're huge fans. We work with them. We talk to them all the time. The viewable impression standard for display has almost no bearing on video, right? Because there's a time component to this as well that we have to pay attention to. And we're also accredited across these other table stakes pieces, which again seems like kind of basic fundamental things, but until you have this, you can't do the fun stuff. You can't do the sophisticated ad formats. So what's different about viewability in video? There's obviously a time component. It is not that a video showed up, it had a moment on the screen, it was able to be seen. That video is a linear experience. It's a pre-roll. It is 15 or 30 seconds that is running through, and you have to be able to take advantage of that. Capture that information. So what we do is we show the average viewability over time, right? We'll also give you the impression viewability at the time it was served. We'll tell you, because we are data geeks, how much data we actually know, right? Because again, if you work in the analytics world, you have to have some confidence in the stability of the data. So if it's a very high percentage of data known, you can assume that it's a representative sample. And then you might find out really interesting things, like that beautiful pre-roll, like Chili's did, that had a call to action right in the last 3 seconds of that 30-second spot. That was the call to action, nowhere else. Only 2% in this particular example, 2% of your impressions were fully viewable. It's only 2% of the time did people actually see your call to action. Now, do I think that people have to watch 100% of every video in order for it to be effective from a marketing standpoint? No, of course not. I mean, I have a very short attention span, so I probably see about 30% of anything I'm actually watching. But this informs both the buyers, the planners, the brand, the creative folks, that maybe if you have a video experience that you're getting good rate on, getting good pickup, getting good reach, great GRPs, but you're not getting people to the end of that message, maybe you go back to your creative team and you say, hey, why don't we move this call to action up, bookend it, and move the call to action up in the beginning, and so you get the result you want out of this. So again, how you measure success, what you're trying to get for your brand, for your agency, or for your site if you're a publisher, is really up to you. Right? But I fully believe that measuring these common fundamental table stakes pieces is the lever that will help drive video into the same sort of thinking that TV exists in today. Now, don't get me wrong, digital is growing. I think we did $10 billion in Q1 in sort of digital media revenues. That's awesome. We're well on our way to being $40 or $50 billion across all of digital. But let's not get caught up in the sizzle, right? Let's pay a little bit attention to the steak here. And the steak, or the table stakes, that's fantastic, is viewability. So moving on, I think. So we have this ability to understand what's happening in the marketplace, right? We have this understanding of viewability now. So what do you do with it? And so one of the things we added to viewability is something we call EQ. It's our effective quality score. For our friends in the audience, it is trademarked, so please remember to use that. And what the EQ is basically a way for you to score viewability and player size and duration of the view. So now you've taken these 3 components that are at the heart of marketing. Did I capture attention? Was it in a great environment? And what was the size of that viewer? And let me explain how it works. And we give you a very easy score so you can then apply this to the price you may have paid for that media to understand whether you're overpaying or underpaying. So basically, player starts, say we're in a medium-sized player, we give that a score. It's the only math in the presentation, I promise. First quartile, we measure the viewability. It's 100%, so we assign that a value of 100. And as the player starts to roll through the quartiles, the scores change based upon whether the viewer is staying with that ad or if they're scrolling the information off of it. So in this representation, maybe I'm on ESPN and I'm watching a video and I get really caught up in yet another Knicks implosion at the end of the season. And now I'm scrolling down through the content and that ad is starting to disappear off of the screen. Now, viewability will tell you whether it's 75%, 100%, or 25%. But EQ will now take into account whether the size of the player, the duration of the ad, and its position on the page. And I will give you, right at the end here, a little score. This one is 67.5. That gives you an actionable way to measure that particular placement, that particular campaign, regardless of where it's running. Now, we often take credit for great ideas because we're a platform, we want to build new stuff. But this actually came from one of our clients who called us up and said, we love your platform, but please, of all this analytics data that you provide, this incredibly sophisticated stuff, just give me a simple way to score the darn things. Just give me a way to look at my 200 placements and give me a quick understanding about which ones are being shown in a quality environment, which ones are more likely to capture attention. And so we built EQ Score and then rolled it out through the platform. And it's been great, and it's interesting because our publisher clients actually find this quite useful as well. Because guess what? Publishers want to understand what's working or not working on their side as well, so that they don't show up at a gunfight armed only with a knife, right? They want the data that the agencies are using to buy and measure, and publishers now want to be able to understand that for their own sites. So the two things here that we tend to spend a lot of time talking about is these table stakes stuff, viewability, EQ, and how to measure it. And the reason we're doing that is because, frankly, digital's changing, right? Digital for 15 years has been around clicks and direct marketing. I do a search, I do that, and I buy something. I see an ad, I click on it, I sign up for something. But video is this medium that transcends the sort of digital and traditional space, where online video or digital video kind of lives in the middle of the funnel here. You know, it lives around engagement, it lives around in time spent, and it's starting to push up into brand health. And then we can measure brand health for you in online video, and you can use that as a way to understand whether your ads are having an impact on an audience. So, and if this wasn't happening, none of this is required. Right? If digital was still, say, about clicks and direct response, we wouldn't need to have sophisticated analytics around that. But it is changing, and so the tools need to change too. You need to incorporate the types of things that give you this fundamental knowledge of what's happening in your marketing campaign so that you can be successful, so that you can drive the results that you're trying to get out of your advertising campaigns. But we run into the same old problems, right? In that our business, and we're great at this in digital, making stuff really complicated, we have marketers and we have consumers. And in order for you to reach, and you can think of this as advertisers and publishers or agencies and content owners, you have to sort of live through this world. And my friends at Luma put this out and they terrify me and have nightmares about it. But this sort of path through the digital ecosystem is really difficult to navigate. And in order for you to launch a video campaign that does anything of sophistication, you need to traverse this. And what we see out there is that a lot of point solutions. A lot of people say, well, I can do verification, or I can do ad serving, or I can do analytics, or I can do sales ROI. And my deeply held conviction is that if we can do this in a holistic way, if you can find and discover platforms that can serve more than one need at a time, you can then focus on the actual marketing, the actual results, and not focus on the operational sausage making that goes on in order to deliver a video campaign. So on the one hand, we have incredible simplicity. Is my ad capable of being viewed? Can I score it? And we run into this and like, okay, well, how do we get through this morass? And that's what platforms are here to do. And we don't terribly believe that any single point solution solves the problem. Marketing is a complicated thing, and brand marketing is particularly complicated. So you have to pick and choose very wisely. Of course, I also believe that you should pick us and choose us wisely. But whatever you do, make sure that you have a platform that services more than one point solution for you, because the inefficiency in having 10 different solutions at play is problematic. So what are you to do? You're a marketer, you're a publisher, you're sort of facing this video world, great CPMs, scarce supply, defensible position. You can do some cool stuff outside of pre-roll, but 80 to 90% of all ads are pre-roll today. And we think measuring what matters and focusing on the data behind what's making a campaign successful or not, table stakes. You have to understand this. You have to start with the fundamentals, whether you're building a house, a road, or a marketing campaign. It's that foundational work that's important. And then we can do the cool stuff. Then we can understand maybe this type of pre-roll, we should add an engagement slate to it because we've seen that men versus women tend to spend more time with it, and that was a surprising audience for us. But without the foundational elements of that, you can't get to that data without guessing. So our platform is built for brand marketers. It is built for publishers who understand that agencies and marketers and consumers, you have limited time to engage them, and so they want to understand the data behind what is making something successful or not. Viewability, EQ, et cetera. And I'll leave you with this sort of last, very quick example. Our clients are always very hesitant, they might be in the room, but they're always very hesitant about us using their names, so I tend to blind these things. But this is a simple chart of before using VideoHub and after using VideoHub. And what you see, that blue line, is the average viewability of the ads that they were running. So before, they were buying, and they were successful. They're a great agency, great brand, great client. Before, they were just buying pre-roll and buying some engagement slates, not having really any way to measure viewability. And then they discovered that they could actually measure it and started calling up their publisher partners and saying, hey, listen, we love you guys, it's great, but we're not going to pay you unless those ads meet a minimum viewable threshold. Sounds a lot like buying on viewable impressions, right? So they started holding their publishing partners accountable to just viewability. Didn't get more sophisticated than that. And lo and behold, performance changed. Brand health had a meaningful change. The agency and the publisher both understood, because the publisher sees this data as well, so they can act on it, both understood this fundamental viewability and the EQ score of these ads, and were able to deliver a better experience. Oh, I forgot, there's another animation in there. So that was the benchmarking piece. So in closing, and again, it's beautiful out, so I hope you get some time outside, is you got to start with measuring viewability. You have to understand that table stake. You have to know when and where things are working, and most importantly, at the end, the sophisticated piece is know why it worked. Did it work because of these 4 signals? Did it work because I served this ad to heavy TV viewers who tended to consume this type of content on this type of day, and it was a minimum of 75% in view? That's the sophisticated stuff, but you have to start with the fundamentals. You can't get complex until you start with simple. So I will leave you with, again, my favorite image, a table stake. And remember that in order to be successful, driving these sort of fundamental standards through the business, taking a position where we're all talking the same language, GRPs for currency, viewability for billing, will really help drive our business forward, help you service your brands better, and help publishers make their sites even more valuable. So thank you very much.